to the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard De La Cruz.
Hello there.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Hello.
It is Monday, June 27th, 2022. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, where we post videos. And go to Patreon.com/the Gaming Discourse, where you can support us. People on the Commander and Captain tiers should have appeared just a second ago in our credits, so thank you to them. We do have a new video up, The Saboteur. So I wanted to make a video about The Saboteur for a long time. It ended up being a video that is more on the thematic. I didn't talk about gameplay at all. So the title of it is Nazi-sploitation, moral ambiguity, and race cars, because that's what it all sort of jams into The Saboteur. I think it turned out pretty well. Go check it out. Let me know what you think. I had a good time researching it. I also had a depressing time researching it. Researching Nazis is not always the funnest thing. No. Let me tell you. But the stuff around it, that doesn't have to do with Nazi ideology. The rest of it is fun. And The Saboteur, in a lot of ways, is a very bad game, but in a lot of ways is a hilarious game. There's a famous line.
I was going to say that Saboteur has,
relative to Connor and I,
arguably one of the greatest lines ever written in recorded history.
Yeah. So the Sean, who's the main character, and his buddy, I forget his best friend's name all of a sudden. Doesn't matter. And his best friend, they prank a German race car driver, and they send his car over a cliff into a lake to destroy his car. And his friend says, maybe we should leave a note. And Sean goes, "Dear Wanker, sorry about the mess. Send the bill in the arse." But, and the way that he says it is really funny. The voice actor that plays Sean is the voice actor that plays Master Miller throughout the Metal Gear Solid series. And I guess that also means Solid Snake. I mean, Liquid Snake, right? Was that the same voice actor?
No, they're different, if I remember correctly.
Because I thought in the first Metal Gear, Liquid Snake pretends to be Miller.
At one point, yeah.
Yeah, and he lets his ponytail go.
Before he does that, there's a long pause, so they could just
Oh, okay. Well, in any case.
I could be wrong, too. I'm going to double check.
I think it's Robert Atkin Downs.
Yeah, that was the name. I was trying to...
Yeah, Robert Atkin Downs. But anyway, so go check it out. Like, subscribe, assault and battery the like button.
Whoa.
Leave a comment, and we appreciate it. We have a lot of news. Diablo Immortal, Activision-Blizzard Shareholders. Something that's been going on this week, obviously, is with the overturn of Roe v. Wade. There's been a lot of different video game studios speaking up. Bungie, lots of others. Connor, we
just wanted to say at the top that we at the Gaming Discourse do support reproductive rights for women and all people with uteruses.
Yeah, so we were going to go through the people that were the companies that were speaking out and stuff. We figured probably a better way is just to say it off the top, and then we can go on. Is there anything else any of us want to say? No. Okay.
Just agree with Connor.
We'll go to games. Connor, what have you been playing?
This week, a little bit of Oblivion.
That is it, huh?
That is it.
Okay, so Connor works so much that when Connor comes over, pops in a game, plays it, and that's the thing Connor has played.
I get to talk about this week.
Because Connor works so much.
we're kind of put on the spot though. It's like shit. Podcast coming up. I got to talk about something.
I got to manufacture some kind of game. Play Fallout Shelter on the toilet or something so I can talk about it. I apologize. It shouldn't be like that. If you don't have time, you don't have time. Obviously. Okay, well, what's I just got coffee everywhere.
My bad.
No, it's fine. I moved it over there. No one knows what they're talking about unless they're watching us on YouTube. You can't get if you don't watch us on YouTube, you can't get the exclusive content of me accidentally knocking over a coffee cup.
Just the audio. Just the audio.
Just the audio. Connor, so hour of Oblivion. Tell us your thoughts.
Oh yeah, so far an hour of Oblivion. The game is stupid and fun and
tell everybody the story, the magical thing on my 360 about the save file of less than an hour, because this is hilarious.
So there's an old save. I don't remember from when.
Long time ago.
Yeah, last played. But in Oblivion, there is a single unicorn. And in this save file, in under an hour, the character I made and was running around to stole said unicorn, is being chased by wolves that are trying to kill me, attacked by guards because I have a 2,000 gold bounty on my head.
All right.
Yeah, so there's this save file with less than an hour played. And a couple years ago, I discovered this because I launched Oblivion on the 360 for some reason. I don't remember why. But I was like, oh, I don't remember this character. I remember like my main character. There's another character in there. We have a character named Shrek for some reason. But there's this other character named Maria. It's like, oh, well, who's this? I wonder what's going on here. So load up the save, and literally as soon as the save boots, unicorn. I'm like, oh, we have a unicorn? And then you turn around and there's wolves. So I like run away from the wolves, and then guards from the other direction, stop.
You have violated the law.
You have violated the law. And it's like, oh man, like what the hell's going on? So it was just hilarious. And of course,
there's somewhere behind you, chasing you in the distance, the Minotaur.
Yeah.
Because the unicorn was guarded by Minotaurs. So have fun with that.
So it's just hilarious and you also have a 2,000 gold fine. Yeah. And I think you have like 5 murders
something like that
already. Less than an hour played.
5 murders, a couple
20
of
minutes
assaults.
of that is the introductory chunk. So even anyway. But it's a little bit of a hilarious find. Okay, Connor. Well, I'm sorry you can't play games.
That's fine.
You son of a bitch.
Sorry, I finished my second run on Resident Evil 2.
Okay.
So my first run was Claire, continued my second run with Leon. I do enjoy I'll say randomization of like the second run, because like I said, everything is not exactly the same, and puzzles aren't in the exact same spots, or puzzle solutions are different. So like I said, I had to slow myself down because I was also kind of, I don't want to say speed running it, but I just wanted to play Resident Evil till I kind of get that sensation out of my system. Just, wanting to play a Resident Evil 2 game again. It's such a phenomenally well-made game. And with all of the like bonuses that you have from beating it the first time with like the infinite rocket launcher and stuff like that, it makes it a lot more fun, but sometimes very rough as well, because if you're playing on hardcore mode like I was, there's no saving unless you actually save at a typewriter.
Yeah.
So as I was going through the game, I get to the STEM research center, which is like the final area of the game, and there's a part where you have to get a vial and create a solution to basically kill a giant plant 42 that's there. And you do this part after going so long throughout the game as Leon without encountering Mr. X, because he's at the station and then you don't see him again really after that, because you get away from him ostensibly. But after getting the vial and getting the solution to basically the pesticide, whatever, to kill Plant 42, when you go get your bracelet, it's like a RFID like bracelet to upgrade it, he bursts through the window. And I was sitting there already on like caution. And I was like, oh shit. So I pull out the rocket launcher and I shoot him and nothing happens. So I was like, oh crap, he must be in some sort of like animation still. So I just turn around and I run. And it's kind of it's a circle with like a pathway in the middle.
Okay.
So I come around the circle and then go the pathway down the middle. And he, on the left side, just jumps over the railing right in front of me. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I shoot him again with the rocket launcher. But once again, he's in an animation. And nothing happens. And the next thing is just him going, just knocking me out. And I lost about like a half hour of time. And I was like, oh, thankfully, I already knew the steps to get to like the next part. So having to do that again was still fun, but also it was easier, thanks, because I knew what to do. But during the second run, I do find things are interesting. Like I didn't even get in the police station, there are 4 different keys. There's a club key, diamond key, heart key, and spade key. And I did not get the heart key, like whatsoever. Like I didn't even find it. I didn't even get it. And I never opened any of the heart doors in the station before I just moved on, left. So, because I didn't need to, because I have like infinite ammo. What do I need to pick up anything for? Like on my rocket launcher. So, but I had a blast with that. Of course, finished it, and then trying to find what to move on to next. I forgot to talk about it last week. I did play and beat the newest Ninja Turtles game that came out. Okay. Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge, because that is on Game Pass and everything. I played it with several of my friends, and we beat it in one night because it's a very short game. It's based off the like arcade style of game, so it's side scroller beat 'em up. But I've never seen a game made with so much love and attention to not only the previous games that came before it, but just the franchise in general. Because every single one of the characters from the Turtle series is amazingly recreated in the game as like really, really good looking sprite characters. And they have their own different moves, and the moves themselves are also kind of based off of like other franchises. Like you got Street Fighter moves in there. Like April does particular moves that's like Chun-Li or like other characters, and Splinter does like the spinning kick from like Ryu and Ken. That's awesome. You pretty much fight every single Turtles villain ever.
Wow.
Even ones from the movies, which is really cool.
Oh, okay.
You also get like way more expanded combos instead of just like 3-hit punches and kicks. Like you have different connections that you can create to make your combos longer, and you can even build your combo meter up way past. There's like a achievement for like 250 hits or something. But the game is probably my favorite Turtles game that they've made, nostalgia aside. But it was very good, and I'm very surprised that they actually got Raekwon and Ghostface Killer from Wu-Tang to do like 2 different tracks on the and they play while you're playing. Like one of the tracks plays during the final Shredder fight, and I was just like, this is freaking cool. It was really awesome. But yeah, it was a very, very extremely well made game, and I'm very glad I got to play it. So other than that, doing the other usual stuff. Been playing Rogue Company still a lot. I find that game very fun. It's very similar to, did you ever play a factions mode in Last of Us?
Oh, briefly, long time ago.
Factions mode is very good on Last of Us. It's very, very, very good. But this is basically more of an arcadeified, faster version of that. So there's a lot of like crouching, like cover. It doesn't have a cover system like Gears of War, but you know there is like lower cover and like higher cover that you can like bounce back between. But it's a very cool game, and I love playing it with the friends and whatnot. But now I'm just trying to find the next thing to move on to. So we'll see what that is.
Did you ever play Resident Evil 0?
Yeah.
Because I recently found out about that game through talking with friends at work. And one thing that kind of blows my mind about that game is the limited saves based off of the ink card or the ink
ribbons,
tape, the ink ribbons that you get.
Yeah.
That should happen more.
It definitely should. I think in normal mode in Resident Evil 2, you can save as many times as you want. Mm-hmm. But in like hardcore mode, you could only save if you have an ink ribbon.
Okay.
If you found one, and usually if you do find one, it's only one. Sometimes it's 2 in like specific spots, but yeah, once you use that, you better use it like sparingly or at the right time. Eventually, towards the end, you kind of realize, oh, they're putting this here right before a major event. Yeah. So it's not the biggest deal. But yeah, in the older Resident Evil 1 and 2 and 3 to an extent, yeah, that was very like, you got to make sure you have that, man. Or, you know, all that's a lot of progress gone. And Zero's fun. Zero's weird, too. Zero's wild.
Each zombie.
Yeah.
I could describe a lot of Resident Evils.
Yeah.
You know what? And that is weird about Resident Evil 0 because it's weirder than the rest of them. Because this one has...
It starts on a train.
One thing that Resident Evil does not have, except for a couple entries, which are not non-canon, but they're just side entries, is zombified animals. And Resident Evil 0 has like zombified frogs, has like zombified bats. Like it has a lot of zombified creatures, whereas a lot of the other games don't. I mean, dogs.
Or just dogs, yeah.
Yeah, dogs or like spiders. That's it.
I share in your pain.
Yeah, slugs too, because the main theme of that is like slugs. The main villain can like fall into slugs and then they just crawl over.
Don't like that.
They're slimy.
Play
dude.
Zero then.
They're slimy, dude.
Okay, so I'm still playing Days Gone. Still playing Ghostwire Tokyo. Both very standard open worlds. I enjoy them, but they're not groundbreaking in any way, I don't think.
Playing video games must be nice.
Ghostwire. Well, and when I finished the Saboteur video, I just sat down one day and I just like alternated between the two. But
wow. Rub it in.
It was a nice day. But Ghostwire, yeah, the visuals of Ghostwire are really neat. It surprises me how standard it is, how generic it is. because there really isn't a whole lot to it. And it's one of those games where, you know, I've unlocked maybe half of the upgrade tree and I just don't care about the upgrade tree because there's just nothing on there that really. And Days Gone is the same way. You know, I'm playing and I don't think to myself, man, I wish I could do this. I wish this was this way. I wish this was like this. I don't really think that. And then when I get points to upgrade things, I just don't care on the upgrade tree. Like, it just doesn't matter to me. So I think that's a pretty big criticism, or a pretty big problem with the game systems when the upgrade trees just aren't interesting. Yeah. Horizon Forbidden West, that happened after a while. There was some really nice stuff on the upgrade tree, especially once you started unlocking the secondary ability of weapons. But as you got later in the game, the usability, the usefulness of some of those upgrades really went down. And I was playing on hard. So, like, you know, the upgrades for food and things that could give you boosts, you'd think would be more useful on harder difficulties, but they just weren't. And I think that's a problem a lot of video games have. For Forbidden West, that didn't happen until later on. Early on, I was like, the stuff I was unlocking really changed the game. But for Ghostwire and for Days Gone, it's just not the same. Days Gone is also, I can see it's. You can see all the inspirations. You see Last of Us. That's unavoidable. And I don't want to be too reductive. There's enough in Days Gone that it is unique, but you can clearly see the Last of Us inspiration. Another problem, well, not necessarily a problem. Another inspiration is Red Dead Redemption. There's a part that I got to in the story where it's sort of signaling a chapter difference. Like, a big chunk of the story is over. Now you're moving on to this next chunk of the story. And as you ride there, a song plays. And it's like, okay, so this is Red Dead Redemption. Now, again, I don't want to be reductive, because just because John, when he rode to Mexico or when he rode home, a song played, does not mean that every single game that does that is doing it because Red Dead Redemption did it or whatever. But it just wasn't done well. And it kind of felt like Ben Studios was like, we want to have this Red Dead Redemption moment, so we're going to put it here. But instead of it feeling natural, it felt like we want a Red Dead Redemption moment, right? Does that make sense? And you know, the writing, Days Gone's writing is pretty bad. And when I say writing, I don't just literally mean dialogue, but just the story in general, the way characters react to things. The actor that plays Deacon he's a bona fide actor.
Sam Witwer.
Is that his name?
Sam Witwer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he played Starkiller. He plays Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, I think, or one of the Star Wars cartoons. He's obviously a good actor, but it's just his inflections, the way he answers things. And that's why I think it has to be
direction.
That's my theory. I cannot prove this, but to me, if you're in a sound booth, it's a game. No, to me, if you're in a sound booth and, you know, the idea of the director is like, I want you to answer it like this. This is what's going on. This is how the character should be. And then the actor delivers that, right? That's how I imagine it in my head. So maybe it's not that, but that's what my theory is. And it's all over the place. And so, yeah, some of the writing is pretty bad. I was talking to you last week about a really weird situation.
Phone, right? Where he was.
Yeah, where he was getting beat up and Sarah was like trying to get phone reception, and none of the setup made sense. There was another scene that didn't make a whole lot of sense, but it really, Days Gone really tries, really tries, but it just doesn't execute very well. So, and Ben Studio never really did anything like this, if I remember their history. I could be wrong, but I don't think they ever did anything that was this on their own. Obviously, they
Order 1886.
Was that Bend? I don't know.
If not, the one before that was Uncharted Golden.
Okay, I never played Golden Abyss.
That was good. That was
it good?
Yeah,
okay, well maybe they have.
I mean, but once again, it was a handheld game. It was a game on handheld, like
10 years ago,
and it was Uncharted. The precedent was already like.
Yeah, that's true.
Make a game like Uncharted. I mean, it is Uncharted, but
you know what else Ben Studio made?
Siphon Filter.
Bubsy
3D.
Oh no, wait, did they? Oh.
Yeah, I looked that up. But anyway, so yeah, I'm still playing Days Gone. But its writing is pretty bad.
It was Order 1886 was not bad.
Yeah. Who made Order 1886?
It was Ready at Dawn.
Ready at Dawn. Okay.
That's
okay.
right.
I do remember that. Right. All right. And then the game that I have returned to, Squad.
Ooh. He's so proud. He's like
no. So okay. So Squad. I was telling you guys before. So Squad released a new update 3.0 and adds a bunch of stuff. But what I love about Squad is it is uncompromising. Right. It gives you giant maps with tons of different tactical situations. Gives you tons of tools. Mm-hmm. Light anti-tank, heavy anti-tank, rifles, machine guns, different tanks with different abilities.
A truck.
It gives you. You can play as a faction that has literally pickup trucks. You play as
a Logi truck.
Insurgents, right, quote unquote. Or you drive a Logi truck, which is just Euro Truck Simulator, only with bullets.
So American trucks.
But I'm not joking. If you play as a Logi driver, it is literally you go, you pick up supplies, you drive back to a base, you drop it off. Hopefully you don't get shot by a tank because Logi trucks have no defenses. So as soon as an enemy sees a Logi truck, it's a juicy target because that's no armor, but a lot of resources. Yeah. So it's like, oh boy. But anyway, so I love that about Squad, that it dumps you in there and it just says, okay, you got to coordinate, have fun, And what that produces is a lot of moments that can't be scripted because it's so open-ended. It's emergent. It's very much similar to like battle royale games and stuff like that, where they just give you a map. Mm-hmm. But in Squad, there's all these different vehicles and stuff. So a few stories from this weekend. So we were sneaking up on there's a map that is a desert. In the middle of the desert is a airstrip with hangars and stuff. Outside of that, for a good stretch, is nothing. So the difficulty of the map is you have to figure out how to get into the airbase and sustain there, right? Because in Squad, you have to build spawn points. Once those spawn points are destroyed, the only place to spawn is at your main base. Your main base is going to be super far away. It is unsustainable to try and run from there to capture objectives. So you have to coordinate spawn points and things like that. So the danger of this map is if the enemy team has a good foothold in this airbase, you have to make it across open desert somehow and establish a foothold on your own, right? So our team was doing very bad and we didn't have a foothold. And so I was like, you know what? We're going to try a flank. We're going to go a different direction. We're going to go across the desert this way. So we had this great cinematic moment. We're sneaking up on a hangar with a caved in roof, right? And there are craters left over. It's part of the map, like artillery had hit. So we're jumping crater to crater, not literally jumping, but bunny hopping crater to crater. We stop in a crater. I peek above with binoculars. I scan real quick. I say, okay, looks like it's clear. We go to the next crater. We're getting up on this hangar, okay? And all of a sudden, so the cave-in is kind of weird because it's caved in, but it's caved in such a way that we can't see into it. So I don't know how to describe this. So imagine that there's a piece of wall still blocking the front, but it's sort of caved in at an angle, right? So I'm kind of using my hands. It's tough to explain. But anyway, so you could lay and you could fire parallel with the hangar, but you can't fire directly out of it because that piece of the broken wall is still there. Does that kind of make sense? Unless you lean and look. So we're sneaking up on this hangar. All of a sudden, muzzle flashes da-da, from behind this wall. So we're both like almost at the base of the hangar. We see these muzzle flashes and I'm like, okay, hold on. We don't know who's in this hangar or if it's just one guy. So I'm going to sneak up the side of the hangar around the side of this wall and I'll take out whoever's on this side, right? So me and my buddy, we're sneaking up both sides of this caved in part of the hangar. And this guy's muzzle, he's still shooting at stuff. He has no idea we're sneaking up on him. Oh my God. So I finally get to the top, right? And I lean in and he's by himself. And it was just an amazing moment. Because as I lean in, I see the enemy. I see the wall. I see my buddy who's on the other side of the wall that he doesn't know is there. We take him out. It's just beautiful. It was a beautiful little tactical moment that we played amazingly. If that guy had leaned and saw us, he would have got us both because we were out in the open. But he didn't. And we saw the flashes. It was like out of a movie. We snuck up. We did it perfectly. Another moment. So in this one, we decided to drive tanks. Tanks in Squad are a big deal because they're powerful, but you're kind of vulnerable you're extremely powerful, extremely well armored, but you don't have a lot of vision. If you're driving, you've got 3 little glass panels essentially to see out of. If you're in a gunner seat, you have a gunner sight, but you don't have tons of peripheral vision. You have to turn the turret or the sight to see, right? So you're vulnerable in the sense that you don't have a lot of things to see with unless you get out of the tank. So we are in a T-72, which is a Russian tank. Not very great against an American Abrams. And we're playing Americans. And we keep getting reports that there's an Abrams somewhere to our south. So it's like, okay, so how do we play this? We're on a map that is a lot of hills, a lot of trees. There aren't a lot of roads. So we're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to post up on a road, and we're just going to sit on this road and hopefully catch the Abrams coming toward us, because we were sort of away from the rest of our team. So if the Abrams wanted to go balls to the wall and crash into our team, it could do that. Or if it wanted to escape and maybe get back or flank back around, it'd have to go through us. So we're sitting there. There's this beautiful moment. Okay, there's a little tiny hill on our right, all right? And all of a sudden, and I'm moving the tank just a little bit. All of a sudden, I hear my gunner, my buddy. There's the Abrams. Stop. So I hit the brake. We stop, right? He fires. He hits the hill, okay? The hill as the Abrams goes behind it. Abrams doesn't know that we just missed, so we got super lucky. The Abrams comes around the hill. Super beautiful. He fires again. He hits the Abrams tracks. The Abrams spins out off the road, has no idea what just happened. So we're in just the perfect position to take this thing out, right? So the Abrams spins because we took out its track, and it's like on the edge of the road, kind of angled a bit. And you could tell the gunner in the Abrams has no idea what's happening because the turret's turning around, and trying to find out. We fire another round. We hit it big time. And at this point, it's on fire. It has no idea. Finally, it locates us. Fires. It goes right over our heads. The ballistics and sounds in this game are amazing. So you just hear a whoo, really loud right over our heads. And then he fires. My buddy fires again. We destroy the Abrams, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful because, you know, in Battlefield, you lose a tank battle, the tank spawns in 30 seconds, whatever. But in Squad, it's like you lose a tank battle, the tank doesn't spawn for like 10 minutes. And, you know, if you don't play your cards right, you can be the first tank to get a hit, but you lose because you don't angle your armor correctly, or because you don't position yourself right, or because the other tank is in a more advantageous position. So it was a combination of we were better in the tank because the Abrams came around the corner just in like 5th gear nonstop. I think 5th gear is fast. I don't know. But just like super fast. Full tilt. Right? Full tilt. Yeah. And we caught it completely by surprise. And of course, the dudes in the Abrams didn't really know what was going on, which was beneficial for us. Yeah. Oh my God. And it's just one of those Squad moments that was just beautiful. So hopefully in the future, we'll have more beautiful Squad moments.
I can imagine having to wait for a tank to take 10 minutes to respond. I hate the minute and a half it takes for Logi trucks to respawn.
Well, and that's the pressure of playing as armor in Squad, because people, and I think this is something about, if you don't mind me, I'm going to talk about Squad for the next hour and a half. So
welcome to the Squadcast.
Welcome to the Squadcast. And you know what? We're starting that. No, so this is a problem. So vehicles are super
crucial,
right? And losing them is big, not only because they cost you lots of points, but if you need to watch a town and you've got an IFV or a tank, you know, that is peeking over a hill, infantry can't touch that town because you can take anything on. They can fire a light anti-tank at you, but I mean, relatively speaking, tanks can hold down entire sections of maps, completely change the dynamics of a battle. Tanks and IFVs and things like that. But I think when people play like Battlefield or Call of Duty, they get into their mind the more arcadey, fast-moving, aggressive idea in their head of how a first-person shooter is supposed to be. And Squad is the opposite. Squad it's slow, check your corners, firefights, you know, a lot of firefights are going to be played out at range, so you're going to have to adjust for bullet drop and ballistics. Same thing with tanks. The on every scope, the sights for distance and stuff like that, they all work. So you have to learn how to use those things. In a tank, if you change rounds in a tank, rounds have different ballistics to them. So I think like high explosive rounds, I don't remember which one, but there's high explosive, which is big explosion. Then there's heat rounds, high explosive anti-tank. And those ones are specifically meant to penetrate whatever, destroy a tank. And if you switch, they have different ballistics. Some might go farther, some may go shorter, and you have to remember that as a gunner and adjust accordingly when you're firing. So when you harness that and you use it to perfectly ambush an enemy tank, it's just an amazing moment of gameplay. So, and there's not a whole lot of games that can provide that, but there are some. Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Okay, so no, just kidding.
I mean, I kind of want to reinstall Squad, but
it's so good. And then Connor in a Lodge truck is just cigar. He's got country music on, and it doesn't matter how many different ways,
cowboy hat,
how many different ways Connor's getting shot at. He's just they're just right through. Right
our motto: we deliver.
Exactly. Connor won us a game once because you crashed a Lodge truck onto an objective. I think you died getting out of it.
Yeah.
But because of that, we were able to plant a radio and build a spawn point. But you were getting shot up so much on the way, just driving this truck in the field. It was beautiful.
Pop tires, leaking gas.
Exactly. You got it there. That's all that matters. Okay, hit the end.
We want to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of this episode. They have been silently supporting us since the very beginning, and we felt it was time to give them some love. The like and share buttons have been at our side since episode 1 of the podcast. They can be found just beneath this episode. Please give them a click, it helps us greatly. If you're feeling lucky, click the bell icon to enter for a notification anytime we post new content. You may be surprised by what you get.
We need to Google Squadcast, because if that's not taking, we may be starting
I'm sure there is, and it's going to be like 4 dudes going like this, like one of them has glasses on, and they try to be.
Damn it! Diablo Immortal's delay in China could be due to Winnie the Pooh. Diablo Immortal was supposed to launch in China on June 23rd, days before Activision-Blizzard and NetEase announced the game would be delayed. It's unclear what exactly led to the delay. However, according to Bloomberg, one theory is that NetEase is in trouble with the Chinese government. Reading straight from a Bloomberg story by Zheping Huang, quote, the official Diablo Immortal account that NetEase operates on the Chinese microblogging site Weibo was blocked from posting for violating relevant laws and regulations last week. That came after a screen grab circulated of a May 22nd post on the Weibo, I don't know how to pronounce it.
You got it right the first time.
Account that read, "Why hasn't the bear stepped down?" end quote. And there was a picture of Winnie the Pooh. Now, of course, this was in reference to the fact that China's president/dictator Xi Jinping looks like Winnie the Pooh, which he does.
It's funny. Yeah, it's
he does. It's funny.
It's humorous. I enjoy it.
It may lead to a World War III. I don't know. Good luck,
there
future
are a lot
historians.
of worse things to be compared to than Winnie the Pooh.
Good luck, historians, with that
Kind of
one.
endearing, honestly.
But again, this is unconfirmed, and we're not sure if it has anything to do with the delay. But I'm going to imagine yes, because it makes me laugh.
Right. It sucks. Well, I don't know if it sucks. Hold on, because we're talking about Diablo Immortal. But this is the same type of stuff that happens with Hollywood and trying to release movies in China that they have to appease to that market, which is unfortunate because it can change the entire context of like the movie over there or the games that are over there. And I know that, I'm not certain this is true or not, but recently the creators of Genshin Impact and their other games, MiHoYo, they changed their name to HoYoverse, which people are talking about it online. They're saying that was a way of basically kind of moving away from having to like operate in China.
Really?
Like trying to move somewhere else and maybe like get a refresh of like
Interesting.
how they do things. I highly doubt that's true, but I don't know. That's just hearsay. But yeah, being under a situation to where you cannot do anything with the thing that you created in another country because of one funny sentence, is very disheartening.
Mm-hmm. I do wonder what kind. Okay, so when you the mobile market. I'm going to say this, and I think it's true, but I can't prove it, and I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's true. The mobile market in like China and stuff is bigger than the one in the United States.
China, South Korea, Japan. Nobody touches them as far as revenue and
free to play stuff
and games. Yeah, absolutely. That is the way you play games over there.
Yeah. Which I don't know why it's like that. I would argue it's unfortunate, because I would argue that makes games worse than they should be. But that's the way it is. And those decisions go into how I think those decisions have to affect what kind of games are made and released, right? Because I think however Diablo Immortal got created, wherever in that process, whoever started that process, whatever, I think part of that process is definitely one way we can sell this to investors or whatever is that there's going to be a massive market for a game like this in Asia, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's a big part of that process of trying to pitch something like Diablo Immortal. And if you lose that, then you're losing a huge reason that the thing exists, and that sucks. And I think the better solution is not to do that, is not to base business decisions around a dictatorship with skin that is thin enough that it gets offended by stuff like this. And of course, it's more complicated than that because it's less about, I don't know, it's a dictatorship over there. So I'm sure it's less about just being made fun of. I'm sure it's some of that and more about trying to keep people online and trying to keep up the status quo and the idea that whatever the government says goes or whatever. I don't know. I'm just trying to say it's probably more complicated than just the meme. Although I'm sure it is just a little bit just the meme. But I think, things could be better if that weren't the case. I'm not the first person to say that. I'm never going to be the last person to say that. And there are people that understand geopolitics far more than I do that could provide more on that. But yeah. And it sucks that it impacts the way games are made and marketed and things like that. I do wonder if because Diablo Immortal had that good opening 2 weeks or whatever. And I do wonder how much of a tail that's going to lead to, if at all. No idea. I have no evidence one way or the other, but big opening weekend. But games usually do well when they first come out, right? Yeah. Especially live service games. And then
it is, excuse me, going a little bit back to the games market in China, South Korea, Japan. Although they do enjoy the games that are free to play and have microtransactions and stuff, a very large majority of those games don't see light over here. Mm-hmm. They stay over there, which is great. Very few times a game will come over here that is developed by China or Korea or Japan that is free to play. And they are very noticeable in the way that they operate. I have played some of them. Like there is a lot of games that are very much styled like Diablo that come from South Korea specifically. And I do wonder, Lost Ark being one of them. And I do wonder how well Diablo Immortal will fare, because one thing that I have noticed about Activision-Blizzard, is that they've always been slow come out with the thing that is hot. You know what I mean? World of Warcraft been going strong for 15 plus years. Well, 10 plus years. And then Final Fantasy XIV came out. Other MMOs came out that started to do things better than World of Warcraft has. And now World of Warcraft has been slipping a lot. Diablo Immortal, we've had Diablo 3 for, since 360 PS3, late 2000s.
Are you talking, Diablo
10 years,
3?
Yeah, 10 years now. Yeah. And the fact that we're barely getting a mobile version of it in the year 2022 seems very weird when they could have done it ages ago and made a lot of money. Yeah. Specifically that what I just talked about was about the longevity of Diablo Immortal itself, especially in the Asian market. Mm-hmm. I wonder how it will do since there's so much more competition that people have spent a lot of time and money into.
Mm-hmm. That is interesting that it took them that long to put out I do wonder why that is. I do wonder if, 6 years ago, the temperature in the company was something, we wouldn't want to do something like that. I don't know. And then over those 6 years, because of numerous factors, that decision became more and more likely. You know, I
mean, well, every franchise that Activision has been the same way. Like, I mean, Overwatch is the next one. Like, Overwatch 2 is going to be free to play now, and they've had a system with Overwatch 1, although you had to buy it, they had a system that was fine. Just every level that you level up, you would get a loot box. That loot box will get you stuff, whatever. But and then you could pay for loot boxes if you want to. That was its process. But now that it's free to play, they're barely going to battle passes. When how many games have been doing battle passes for years and years? Not to say they are late to the party, and it'll be successful for sure. But also Call of Duty, like Call of Duty Warzone. How many other battle royales, Fortnite specifically, and I mean even PUBG to an extent. PUBG is way more popular in the Asian markets than it is in America for some reason. Like,
well, I think it's because of the influence of Tencent, I guess.
Well, that's also very true. And Apex Legends have been on the heels of Activision-Blizzard, so it's kind of Activision-Blizzard has these very, very large franchises that they kind of have rested on their laurels in the last 5 to 10 years.
My guess would be two things. My guess would be, one, the AAA industry is reactive, not proactive, because it's led by white dudes in suits that are uncreative, uninspired, boring, and dumb, and so all they do is just react to the things, and they don't ever create or think for something, or think or create anything on their own. Two, is the slow corporatization of Blizzard over the past decade or whatever, right? As Activision has sunk its talons in more and more and more. We'll never know that process. We'll never know exactly how it happened because I think it's too complicated to know exactly, but it is a story that's been going on for a long time now. And so I think that's probably another reason. Okay, speaking of Activision-Blizzard, Richard. I mixed Activision-Blizzard and Richard. Like it's some crazy The Fly incident. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Richard, go ahead.
Good movie. Cronenberg is great. Activision shareholders have voted for a misconduct report. About 67% of the shareholders have voted in favor of the report. The vote was non-binding, and in a statement about the report, Activision-Blizzard said, quote, "We will carefully consider the proposal to enhance our future disclosures," end quote. According to Axios, this report was proposed by the New York State's Common Retirement Fund. It would include the total number of pending sexual abuse, harassment, or discrimination complaints the company is seeking to resolve, the amount of money Activision spent settling misconduct claims in the past 3 years, the number of pending misconduct complaints facing the company.
I would love this. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would absolutely love this because, and as a shareholder, you would think, hey, I want to know more about the company that I'm, investing into, right? And I'm sure there's no way this is the first time that this sort of thing has been brought up. Axios pointed out that Microsoft shareholders voted for this as well, or voted against it. I don't remember, but a similar vote happened with Microsoft not too long ago. So yeah, I don't know, but I really love it. And I have no idea. I'm just so tired of Activision Blizzard. It's like, hey, tell us, when you have lawsuits against you, how could you possibly think that's a bad idea? There's no. I don't know. It's whatever. Activision Blizzard is an embarrassing company that has zero moral high ground.
The reason they don't, come forth when they're getting sued or they have pending harassment suits is because that's bad publicity for the company, which drives their stock price down.
True. Well, can we hate that reason?
Oh, no, absolutely. Not that we can. We do. Okay. We do hate that reason.
Yeah. Well, that's all I'm complaining about is fuck that. And I wish it would change. But I love that. And again, it's non-binding, so I think that if I understood that correctly, it's legally non-binding, so it doesn't mean this is going to happen. So Activision Blizzard is considering it the same way that Activision Blizzard is considering naming the fucking Easter Bunny CEO. As in, they're not considering it at all, I'm sure. So anyway,
well, that's interesting because if
60, I think it would make a great CEO.
67%, I don't know how it works, but 67% of the shareholders ask for this report, but Activision goes no. Can't the 67% of shareholders be like, okay, well, change leadership. Like,
if 67% were unified in that message, sure. But how many of that 67% is like, yeah, I'd like that. But if you don't, whatever. Like how many of them have contradictory opinions? Like, yeah, I'd like that. But if you can get Kotick back,
Activision has been in the news for over a year though now.
That's another good point.
Negatively.
Yeah.
And it's never been positive.
No, that's not.
And all the positivity that they could have earned, they squashed. Like Carious Visions being folded into Activision-Blizzard after Tony Hawk 1 and 2.
Which was good, yeah.
Which great sales, a great return to form. And then they started working on 3 and 4, but it was canceled.
Was it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tony Hawk revealed in a stream like a week and a half ago that they were working on 3 and 4, but when they got folded into Blizzard, when Blizzard picked them up, they had to cancel it.
Fuck Activision Blizzard.
Right. So, and it's like the new Crash Bandicoot did amazingly well. The new the remake of Spyro did amazingly well. Like all of these franchises that they have cast off to the wayside, they can't do anything with now because they're now focused on trying to make people forget about a situation that we won't forget.
Don't you guys know that gamers don't want single-player cowboy games that don't have loot boxes in them?
So that bothers me so much. That bothers me. It bothers me how a company that paints itself into a corner doesn't systematically paint itself out of that. I don't know.
It's the Eric Andre meme where he shoots.
I can't mentally Hannibal Buress.
Yeah.
Hannibal Burgers and whatever. I can't mentally. I just can't mentally place myself in that position, right?
That's because you're a rational human being.
Well, but they are doing it rationally. They just, you know what? We're gonna sound. Speaking of, so I don't know if you've seen that episode of the Eric Andre show.
That's one where he's listing off the...
yeah, because it's great. It's great. Because Eric Andre, because it's when Hannibal Buress does stand-up, because Eric Andre, is late or something. Yeah. So Hannibal Buress does a couple jokes, and then Eric Andre shows up late with a piece of pizza, and he's just eating it, laughing. And then, I forget what he says, but Eric Andre's like, tomato, lettuce, pickles, onions. And then it cuts to a chef making a burger, and then he holds in a and he's just holding the burger out. Anyway, okay, moving on to a new story. Epic's new review system. This was announced in a blog post. The Epic Game Store will use ratings and polls to give players a chance at feedback. The rating or poll might appear at the end of a play session in the Epic Game Store launcher. Game ratings will be based on 5 stars and will be given randomly to players who have played more than 2 hours. Over time, there will be an overall rating on the game store page that will be populated by these ratings. Epic specifically mentions that this rating system is to curtail review bombing, among other things. Polls will ask questions to players and will have a number of potential responses. Some will be yes/no questions, like, is this game good to play with a group? And other questions will give a few adjectives and ask which word best describes the game's visuals. Like the ratings, the answers to these polls will populate tags that appear on the game's store page. So kind of like the tags you see in Steam. Yeah, so the descriptors for the game or whatever. What do you think about this?
Well, I think it's a good, parts of it are obviously a good idea. Not allowing someone who's played 0.1 hours of the game to be like, this game is garbage. Here's the 84 reasons why it's a terrible game. You shouldn't support this company. Sure. While some of those, sometimes those reviews are legitimate, complaints about the game, a lot of the time it's just garbage. So putting a minimum time played to review can help with that. But at the same time, putting a limited time to play can be seen as, not necessarily censorship, but stifling some information being spread outside of word of mouth.
I see what you're saying. I think so. So what I think kickstarted a lot of the for whatever reason, the game that comes to my mind when I think about fixing user reviews and refunds and stuff like that is Batman
Arkham City?
Arkham Knight, right? Because Batman Arkham Knight, and that was one of the first times that a game released, like a AAA game released in the modern era.
Yeah.
And it was bugged beyond all hell. It wasn't some, minor studio making a zombie MMO or something. It was a AAA release of a big franchise that had a lot of fanfare. Yeah. And it wasn't a franchise like Uncharted. It was a big IP, Batman, right? So I think you don't want Batman Arkham Knight to happen again.
Exactly.
And that happens. Elden Ring was not optimized. Elden Ring had a ton of optimization problems when it released. It was mixed for a while on Steam. And so, if you are, how do you tell people that a game is unoptimized through user reviews if you have a 2-hour time limit? Do you sit there and let the game run for 2 hours, right? Because if you play for an hour and it's clearly broken, but at the same time, if you don't put that 2 hour,
smoke a J, let the game run for another hour.
Okay, well, not everybody has access to J's.
So you sit back, sip some coffee, let the game run for an hour. Come on, do I have to do all the heavy lifting here?
Okay, so maybe it wouldn't be that big of an endeavor, but still, you sort of cut because there's a what's the word I'm looking for? That's a good faith, right?
Yeah.
Just because you played a game for an hour doesn't mean you can't say something you can't say something is wrong with it.
Yeah.
Because there's reasons why that could be true. And by making it 2 hours, you're cutting that off and saying in the long run you'll have better reviews because the people that play the game will be somewhat more invested, And I don't know how they plan to, what about games that last an hour or 30 minutes or 15 minutes, I don't know how they plan on figuring that out.
I'm sure they have a trigger.
The game lasts for 15 minutes. You got to play it 8 times, at least.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm
Division
sure
people.
I'm sure they have some kind of thing.
Contingency.
Yeah. I don't think there's a perfect solution.
No.
I do think review bombing is a problem because I think people would argue it's a way of making people's voices heard, but it's just too often
reactionary
and abused, I think.
I do like Steam's newer method where it has the rating and then the current review.
This was refunded or this.
Well, no, that too. But they have their the general overall rating of the game, and then they have a recent.
Yes,
yeah.
So
that will
can
tell
see
you. Yeah.
If it gets this massive review bomb, you'll have mixed in the overall rating, and then massively bad.
Yeah, and that also sucks because humans suck. For me,
yeah, we do.
For me, if I see this game has an overwhelmingly positive score, but then recently you'll see mixed. First thing that comes to my head is, well, what happened recently? And let me go find out. But there are some people who go the reverse. They'll be like, this game is mixed. So
sure.
So it's you won't be able to get everybody on board with just the one thing. And I think this sounds like one of the better ways to leave reviews than other applications. I mean, Google Play does something similar, but sometimes their games can be weird. You could play a game for less than 10 minutes and they'll have a, hey, do you like this? And it's well, hold on, let me play it. It's a cell phone game. Yeah, right. I'm not even through the tutorial yet.
The weird plant monster is still strangling me, and I'm still stuck in Hogwarts.
I just remembered that. Oh my god! Fuck free-to-play games, man. All right, sorry, Richard.
I do think that if there was a game that was a half hour long, I think there would be some sort of trigger. At the end of it, it's hey, you beat it. What did you think of it? But I guess it is something that we can only talk about as a, it's not implemented yet. So we only have ideas of how it will work. But overall, looking at this, it seems, like I said, one of the better ways to go about reviewing things than just being able to talk about it with no, prior gameplay knowledge or whatnot. Because, I mean, even Steam does that, which is cool. We'll tell you 0.1 hours played or whatever. Yeah. And And if it's like thumbs down for 0.1 hour, what is that, 10 minutes? Or
well, because it doesn't really register anything less than, it would be 6 minutes. So if you just open the game for half a second, it puts it as 0.1 hours.
Yeah, so it's silly, but it's something we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But I like the way it sounds. And
with how they work with some, with most developers, they could tie it to like an achievement threshold, because a lot of games, especially on Steam, have like these really like lowball cheese achievements that you get like within like the first 30 seconds of playing, and the companies that or the developers put those in there as a metric to see who are actually playing the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
interesting. Okay.
That's why like in Fallout, it's like get to the vault. It's like you have to do that to play the game. So they put that there so they can see how many people own the game versus how many people have that achievement, to see how many people that own the game aren't actually playing it, so they can ignore that statistic and look at just the people who are actually playing the game.
Okay.
So they could tie something like that to like, there's a point in the game which is like, okay, after this achievement ticks off, when they exit the game, review.
That'd be an interesting idea.
And for like a game that's 30 minutes long, put an achievement at the end of the game, beating the game, come out, you have that achievement for beating the game, and there you go, review.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah, I think I like. So this stops review bombing. Because everybody can't review the game, it's random, right? So to review bomb, you'd have to get a bunch of people to randomly play the game, and then
Just
once they randomly get
playing and leaving the game,
and then once they randomly get the
review,
they'd have to. So it'd be harder to coordinate. I guess you could still do it though. But I think I like Steam's better. The argument Epic Game Store may say is that, well, this gets rid of review bombing totally. Steam, it still happens, but at least there's transparency there. I like the transparency because review bombing, 1% of the time, review bombing isn't always, well, yeah, it's probably always bad. But sometimes when there's a massive amount of negative reviews, it's not review bombing. It is, an update just released and the update's really bad. Or you get space legs and it's not good. Something like that. Elite Dangerous. So yeah, I don't know. I do. I think user reviews are important, especially when games evolve. As games evolve, I don't think there's a system that's perfect. It's interesting that they're doing this. Yeah, I think I prefer Steam's.
I do like Steam's, especially the
idea of Steam's. Yeah. I guess
I do like when you go down in there through the comments and you do see or do you get a notification on reviews like this player received a free copy of this game. So
yes, that transparency is nice. Yeah. Okay, we ready for the tidbits?
Yeah,
let's do it. A man discusses the news, but not like the big news, the little news. Little bit. This is the tidbits.
The Squadcast.
Welcome to the Squad Bits.
Hey!
Controversy has befallen a fan magazine for Persona.
Oh, no. Oh, geez.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez, indeed.
Never saw it coming.
This guy, podcast over.
I don't get it.
Please, we'll tell you what song to download it. Just put it right after he says it, please.
Can we break Connor's strict rule on copyright just once? Okay, no, continue, Richard.
All right. So, Showtime is a fan magazine with collections of fan art, comics, and other media based around the aforementioned Persona game, Persona 5 specifically.
Sure.
These are all fan-made pieces of fan art, comics. Recently, there was a post made on Twitter with a Google document attached to it stated that their former moderator, the head moderator, named Ree, had recently confessed to spending a very large amount of the magazine's funds for personal use.
Oh, no.
That personal use was apparently Genshin Impact, and the amount of money spent, about $21,500.
Oh, my Lord.
Or $27.6K in Canadian dollars, because it was Canadian.
Okay.
I will have to add here, because this is just my personal conjecture from someone who plays Genshin. You literally cannot spend that much money. There's no need to spend that much money, because like people have already done the calculations. You get what you need well before that number.
Okay.
So either this person was handing out, free shit to other people like candy, or I don't know. Anyways, the magazine's funds were headed by Ree herself, and the page was also run by Ree. They apparently lied to other mod teams for months, providing out-of-date banking screenshots that had been photoshopped. They have now been obviously removed from the project and no longer has any affiliation with Showtime. Ree has returned about $3,000 to the group, but unfortunately the rest is gone. Also unfortunate is the fact that these types of fan projects are done independently, almost with no contracts or legal protections to speak of. So after speaking with the lawyer, Showtime has no way of taking any legal action.
That sucks. That sucks.
They are holding a drive to build up the money because they only were able to believe they were having promotional materials that people could pay for that they would send them. They only got about half of them fulfilled before they found out this, so they can't fulfill the other half. So now it's
jeez.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
I don't know. Have you guys ever seen All the President's Men about Watergate? Robert Redford, Dustin Hoffman.
Long time ago.
I just picture Robert Redford in that creepy parking garage.
Yeah.
And Deep Throat's in the darkness, but instead walks out and it's just an anime character. Just follow the money. And Robert Redford's like, I've had a dead end. I don't know where the money's going. It's just an anime character. Follow the money. I don't know why. It could be Mickey Mouse. I don't know. Follow the money. Anyway, all right.
Mickey Mouse is anime. I only have 2 tidbits, but this is the longest one, and this one hit me a little bit. Sony Sega legend Bernie Stolar passed away.
Oh, yeah.
Bernie Stolar, I wrote this before major news broke today, but because found out anyways, whatever. Bernie Stolar was a major player towards the end of the console wars in the 90s. He was on the team for PlayStation at its launch, but about a year later was let go along with a whole bunch of others that were responsible for PlayStation, including Ray Chase and Olaf Olafsson. Ray Chase was I don't think I've ever showed you guys a video, but Ray Chase was the guy that walks up to the podium and is just $2.99 and then just walks off. That's Ray Chase.
Yeah.
He was badass in the worst ways, but the best ways. Anyways. Afterwards, Bernie Stolar was hired by Sega to oversee the Saturn after Tom Kalinske left Sega. Bernie Stolar purged most of the employees at Sega and brought the employee count from around 300 to 90. Peter Moore being one of them. He brought on Peter Moore to help with Sega. He came from Nike at the time, which was interesting because a bunch of I won't go into it, but opinions are mixed. But Bernie Stolar convinced then Sega president Hayao Nakayama to effectively kill the Saturn in the U.S., focus on the next console. Nakayama agreed, and Stolar helped lead the development of the Dreamcast and acquired Visual Concepts, who would then create the 2K series, the NBA 2K, NFL 2K.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
That was a major get for Dreamcast and Sega
the Dreamcast 5 is still going strong today.
Wish. Nakayama was eventually pushed out by Isao Okawa, and eventually Stolar along with him. Afterwards, he bounced to Mattel to create and sell Barbie games, which Barbie games do pretty well, actually. In 2005, Bernie Stolar left and became an advisor and director to Adscape Media, which he later sold to Google for $23 million. A little bit after that, or I think during it, Stolar apparently tried to convince Google to create advertising in the games that they would then create and then give those games away for free. Advertising in them, basically what we do now.
Okay.
But Google was uninterested. They weren't getting into the games market, et cetera, et cetera. Haha.
Are they in the games market?
Now they are, but they weren't then.
No.
Yeah. So Google declined at that point, and then from there, Bernie Stolar bounced around the rest of his career. But absolutely a legend. Dreamcast is hailed as one of the fondly remembered consoles of all time, regardless of if it failed or not. But yeah, he was partly responsible for it. So.
I think an interesting hypothetical question that I don't know if I know enough to answer myself is whether or not it's possible for a 4th console to ever be introduced again. Because back in the day, there were 1,000 different consoles that were successful on on a large scale. How many consoles were around? 2000, November 2000. Hitting the holiday season. How many consoles were there that you were viably buying games for?
Viably? You probably
Like at least 5?
Technically say 4, probably.
4? Oh, okay.
There was PlayStation 64, Dreamcast. Very, very big Neo Geo, because they were still releasing cartridges and stuff like that. But I mean, and then all the handhelds at that point, the Game Boy Color, Neo Geo Pocket.
And the handheld market was a lot bigger than it is.
It was
now.
a lot bigger.
Of course, the Switch has sort of done both, so that kind of.
Yeah, now it's only Nintendo and handheld. Like no one else might as well get into the handheld market.
Nintendo just go to mobile.
But yeah, and they're doing streaming and stuff like that. Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
which kind of changes the game. But anyway, that was just okay. I do have. Can I do a squad bit real quick?
Yeah,
real quick. Because it's tied to Sega.
Yeah.
I recently found out that the Dreamcast, if you just had like a CDR, you could burn a game onto it and it would run on a Dreamcast.
Yeah. That was a big problem with the Dreamcast, is that you just burn a game and it just works.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, a large majority of them, as long as they're manufactured before October of '99.
Holy shit! You know the month?
Yeah,
That's impressive.
Well, it just has to have there's a little serial number on the bottom right. If it's like 0 or 1, you could burn a game and it'll just work.
Are those in the collector market? Are those more?
No,
they're not.
No, they're all over the goddamn place.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It's weird. It's so weird. It's so weird. The average person will just forget things. Like I still, to this day, very constantly, people will come in and ask me for a Nintendo Wii, and then their second question is this the one that plays GameCube games? Like, well, they like 90% of them do.
Yeah.
Like 90% of them don't not. It's like somehow just people forget these things. Another one is
how dare they?
Well, I mean, sure. Yeah.
Fuck you.
No, it is partially my thing. Yes. Another one is like the 64. Like, you know, when you turn on your PlayStation, you get like the, like, and the PlayStation does like its little menu and stuff like that. Nintendo doesn't do any of that. Like, when you turn on an NES, it's just black. People are like, I turn it on, nothing happens. And it's like, well, yeah. Like, right. There's nothing there. I thought it says like 64 or something. No, it doesn't. When does it ever do that?
It does that when you pop a cartridge.
You walk into Richard's store and it's like a really neat used game, you know, bunch of awesome thing, you know. But in your head, you have to imagine it's like Richard at the desk, cigar, you know, there's like Italian mobsters, like, what the fuck you want from me? I got you this, I got you that. You go tell Johnny to fuck himself. Like, that's what's going on. It's like a scene out of The Sopranos. Okay, so squad bit. All right, so every team has a heavy anti-tank role.
Okay.
Heavy anti-tank, as opposed to light anti-tank, Latin hat. As opposed to light anti-tank, heavy anti-tank has a heavier rocket that is going to do more damage to a vehicle. You don't have as many rockets, so you have to be careful, but it is much more dangerous. If you are every team, if someone is playing as heavy anti-tank, you can only have one in the entire team. So as soon as somebody picks it, nobody else on the entire team can have it. So it's really important. It's an important role. It's the person you really want to be engaging tanks on foot. Or vehicles on foot, if that's a possibility. However, it's interesting. All the factions are different. Not only do they have different weapons, but these weapons have different sights, and they have different abilities. The British heavy anti-tank rocket actually has an ability where if you are watching a vehicle move, you can target it, and then the rocket will adjust to the speed of the vehicle. So you, instead of compensating, aiming in front, you can aim straight forward, and as that vehicle is going, fire, and the rocket will adjust according to the vehicle's speed and hit. You don't actually, so with like, say you're firing a normal RPG.
A pseudo homing missile.
It doesn't actually home in. It sort of calculates the speed and then what angle it will need to go to meet it at that vector, right? As opposed to like with other dumbfire rockets where you sort of have to lead with your eyes and hopefully you hit. So tip, and that's the thing about squad is like, in order to get good at that, you just have to practice it, and it's difficult to practice, but it's super important. And if you get it, it's super, you know, it's that one little tiny ability in the game, and if you get that and use it, it makes your week because it's just amazing.
That's where does Bernie Stoller and Sega fit in all this?
Well, nowhere.
Well, Bernie Stoller was a massive squad player. He was one of the greatest.
He did help broadband on Dreamcast, Windows. Without him, without Sega, no online gameplay.
Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. Go check out the Saboteur video. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.